Cedar Point is about to open up one of the most highly anticipated coasters of our lifetime, Top Thrill 2. And this new Zamperla coaster looks wonderful, as we all know. But a few questions I have for you is, when are you planning on going to ride it? And where do you think Top Thrill 2 will rank for you when it comes to Cedar Point's coasters and in your overall coaster rankings? And then, of course, since this is theme park predictions, near the end of the video, I'm going to share my predictions as to why I think Cedar Point's future coaster could be much larger if Top Thrill 2 is a success. And if Top Thrill 2 is not a success, then why I think obviously that coaster is going to be much smaller of a project. As of right now, I plan on being there the opening weekend and I cannot hardly wait. And I'm going to be wearing this shirt right here because I love the old dragster. And I am excited for Top Thrill 2, mainly the spike. And going over the top hat, what appears to be much faster than the original Top Thrill Dragster. So kudos to Zamperla and Cedar Point for that. But as far as the rankings go, for my Cedar Point rankings, I go Maverick, then Steel Vengeance, then probably Magnum, then Millennium. So I feel like Top Thrill 2 is definitely going to be top 3. I obviously have not been on it yet, like no one else has as of right now. But just knowing what we know and the POV of Tony Clark and the other person riding the ride, like, it looks really good. So it all depends on what you like more. If you prefer more intensity, airtime, and fast transitions, obviously you'll like Maverick and Steel Vengeance more. But if you like the pure adrenaline and the speed, then you might like Top Thrill 2 more. For me, I think definitely top 3. I could easily see it potentially being better than Steel Vengeance, in my opinion, but we will see. Again, I'm excited to ride it just like you are. And in terms of my overall rankings, well, every year I do my top 25 coaster ranking video, and Top Thrill 2 is definitely going to shake that up pretty good. So I'm excited for that. And when I do ride, I'm probably going to try to go to the back row first. The front row, obviously, for visuals, but I can just imagine that line being about the distance from Cedar Point to Cleveland in terms of how long it's going to be, so I'll pass on that. Anytime a ride reopens after an accident, there's so much pressure on that ride. Because let's be honest, if something happens again on this coaster, will Cedar Point pull the plug? I mean, obviously it depends on the incident, of course, and I hope that doesn't happen. But again, there's a lot of pressure riding on this project. That's why I said from the start, I'd be shocked if it's not Intamin doing this. And now it's Zamperla, which I feel like that's just a gamble. But for what we know now and what we've seen, Zamperla has done a wonderful job on this coaster. So good job to Zamperla. But with the pressure, obviously Cedar Point's going to be packed this year. And Top Thrill 2 is going to have a line anywhere from an hour to 3 hours long, I'd imagine. Cedar Point's going to be the place to be, and rightfully so. I mean, this coaster is the largest shuttle coaster in the entire world, and it's all about that vertical spike. But the great thing about Cedar Point is it is America's rock and roller coaster, and they're always thinking about the future as what type of coaster will Cedar Point add next. And obviously, I do not think Cedar Point has any plans as of right now to follow up Top Thrill 2 with something else in 2025. But 2026, I think there's a slight chance Cedar Point could open up yet another new coaster. But if I was a betting man, I would say 2027 would be the year, because I think 2026, Kings Island's going to be getting their brand new major coaster, and I do not see both parks opening up a new coaster during the same exact year. With that being said, if Top Thrill 2 is reliable all season long, and there's no incidents on it, then I feel like Cedar Fair or Six Flags and Cedar Point are going to really push getting a new coaster to the park again in a couple years. And one that might be larger than we're all expecting. Now, I do not see it being a crazy record-breaking coaster. And when you look at Cedar Point's coaster lineup, you obviously can spot a few holes in the lineup. Mainly a modern wooden coaster. And I would love it if Cedar Fair worked with GCI to bring in a 130 to 140 foot tall wooden coaster to the park and have it be something like Mystic Timbers, but on steroids. I think that is the best move for me and what I want Cedar Point to build, marketing wise and the GP wise. I think it'll do really well with the GP, but marketing wise, it's not going to have that same effect as, let's say, a brand new record breaking mock extreme spinner coaster. And these mock rides look fantastic. Time Traveler is one of my favorite rides I've ever been on. And Ride of Happiness over in Plopsaland is ranked as one of the best coasters, not only in Europe, but the entire world. So just imagine if Cedar Point got something like Ride to Happiness, but made it much larger, much more extreme. Like, that would be fantastic. Now, we already know Zamperla and Cedar Fair are working together, so this coaster could very well end up being a new one from Zamperla, and that would be okay. I don't really necessarily think they need another multi-launch coaster, and Zamperla doesn't really build major coasters with lift hills. At least the modern Zamperla doesn't, but I'm sure they could down the road. But here's a wild card idea for you. With Cedar Fair and Six Flags potentially merging, and it's pretty much going to happen as we know at this point, then who knows what can happen as far as the leadership and management goes, which leads me to believe that maybe down the road we'll see a new Intamin coaster open up at a Cedar Fair owned park as of now. And that would be great because Intamin has this awesome looking vertical launch coaster that launches you up a giant tower, and this thing could be 200, 300, 400 feet tall. Now, obviously, I don't think we need a 400 foot tall coaster, but just imagine something like this around 250 feet tall, located somewhere else in the park, and feature 4 or 5 inversions, a bunch of airtime. I really think that would do really good for Cedar Point, mainly due to the space restrictions the park currently has. And with rumors about Millennium Island being converted into a Camp Snoopy expansion, which I think is a great fit for the park, and I'm all on board for that, the only really unused plot of land that Cedar Point could build this coaster in is where the old dorms was located, which I am fine with. I would love to see a brand new coaster be located in between Valraven and Millennium Forest, located right across from Iron Dragon. And as you can see, there's a lot of room here for pretty much any type of coaster that offers more of a twisted or compact style layout. Now, obviously, Cedar Point could remove a coaster to make way for this, but I don't see at this current point that there's any coaster in the park that needs to be removed as of now. I really feel like Cedar Point is the best at fitting in these major coasters within a park that's already pretty much landlocked, and they have to be very creative as to where they put their brand new coaster at. Either way, I really feel like Top Thrill 2 is going to be a major success, and if it's not, then obviously the next coaster, the major coaster wise, might be a little bit smaller, compact, more budget friendly. Maybe Cedar Point only allowed to spend around $15 million on it instead of the 20 or 25 million. So really, Top Thrill 2 has so much riding on it, and I really do wish the crew, as well as everyone at Cedar Point, has a very successful 2024 season. And if you are planning a trip to Cedar Point this year, then you have to learn about my Cedar Point plan of attack, where I tell you the route to go to avoid the longer lines in the morning. You can find this video right here. And with that being said, what are your thoughts on Top Thrill 2? When are you visiting? Where do you think it's going to rank? And finally, share with me your coaster predictions for the next project at Cedar Point. As always, thank you so much for watching. Remember to smile today, think positive, and keep riding coasters.